What's up, everybody? I want to take the time in this video to share with you some of my favorite photojournalists that I follow on Instagram. Now, obviously, their work isn't limited to Instagram, but is where I've discovered them and stay up to date with their incredible work. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to refer to them as photographers because a lot of them do more than just photojournalistic assignments. However, their documentary work is what I fell in love with, and I'm going to highlight in this video. I'm not going to analyze their work in this video by any means. My intention is to just share their work for discovery and inspirational purposes. I'll start with Natalie Keyssar. Natalie is a documentary photographer interested in class inequality, youth culture, and the personal effects of political turmoil and violence, primarily in the US and Latin America. Her assignments frequently find her in the midst of dangerous and complex situations in Latin America. In particular, this year she has spent a lot of time in Venezuela, documenting the people and what they have been going through. What I love about her work is her use of flash and how it never feels unnatural. I love how her work remains very striking yet warm, whether it's a portrait of a rebel or a real close shot of a confrontation between police and citizens during a riot. Her photos are very intense and you are immediately drawn to the subjects, and she leaves a lot to interpretation. I'm always left wondering, how did this situation become what it is and how is it affecting everyone? I definitely recommend you follow her on Instagram. She's a world-class photojournalist and her work is just absolutely amazing. This upcoming photographer is easily my biggest inspiration at the current moment. His name is Andre D. Wagner. He's an African-American artist and photographer. Wagner's practice fits into the lineage of street photography, exploring the poetic and lyrical nuance of daily life and everyday people. He is what you call a true master of his craft. He shoots only in film for his personal street work and for his commission assignments, and he develops all of his work in his own darkroom that he has in his apartment. When I look at any image he posts on Instagram, which is far less frequent than what Instagram would want, I suppose, these days, I feel empathy. That is the word that comes to mind immediately when I look at his work. His work is really shaped by his perspective as an African American in America. He has such a great sense of making images that you can tell only he could see in the moment, and that's what I think makes his work magical. It's these fleeting moments that make you feel something instantly. His work is primarily in black and white, and that's why he's been such a huge inspiration for me recently, because he's made me actually just fall in love with black and white photography. It's very rare that he ever posts color film work, but when he does, it's absolutely remarkable. I could really go on for days on how much his work inspires me. I mean, he's just an incredible photographer, someone that you can tell has put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get to where he is and to just develop his own style that when you see his images, you get an instant feeling. And for sure, you have to follow Andre D. Wagner on Instagram. Now, this next photographer I discovered right before I was going to head out to Cuba for the first time last year. I was just studying images from Cuba and really just trying to get a sense of the country and have a different perspective than I might have seen in the media or just through other books. I must say, Raul Cañibano's work is absolutely breathtaking. He is such an incredible photographer. I'm surprised he hasn't been picked up by Magnum Agency, even though that isn't the end-all be-all, but his work definitely fits perfectly in that lineage of photographers. Raul Cañibano is based in Havana as an advertising photographer, born in 1961. His work focuses on people and demonstrates the vitality of modern-day Cuba photography. Raul's photographs are unique. He truly has dedicated his life to documenting Cuba and showing it in a way that no one else can, given that he is from there. His composition in all of his photographs is so unique, and I'm always left just admiring how he captures everyday life out there. I have been to Cuba twice and have studied tons of images from Cuba, but none stand out like Raul's. Raul definitely has an eye that can only be tamed through one's life experiences. I really recommend you follow him on Instagram and support his work. He's just a true genius coming out of Cuba, and his images always leave me taking back every time I look at them. Now, this photographer I actually discovered through Andre D. Wagner. He cites him as one of his biggest inspirations, and he happened to meet him just randomly in the streets of Paris last year, which is incredible. Peter Turnley is renowned for his photography of the realities of the human condition. He has worked in over 90 countries and has witnessed most major stories of international, geopolitical, and historic significance in the last 30 years. I love looking at Peter Turnley's work. It's a huge inspiration for me, given the fact that he has such a huge body of work. He's been at it for so long, yet he's been so consistent through all these years with his images. They're all very poetic, they're all very intense, they all have some emotional meaning and deeper meaning to them. And I actually love following him on Facebook as well, because on Facebook he actually seems to be very in tune and delivers longer messages about his photographs. He always goes back into his archive and pulls photos from 70s and the 80s. So just that alone, the fact that he's been at this for so long, really inspires me And to see him be consistent on Instagram just speaks volumes, because I want to be able to have such a body of work that will still mean something in 20, 30, 40 years. So for me, Peter Turnley is such a great photographer to follow, given that he's a legend, obviously, in street photography and documentary photography. He's definitely someone you should follow on Instagram if you're just getting into documentary photography. You will definitely learn from him what makes a fleeting moment important. Why should you click the shutter at the exact moment that you should be clicking the shutter? What work will still be timeless in 20 years? And that's why it's important to follow him, I believe. And that's what I've been learning and studying, just looking at his work on Instagram. Now, lastly, this photographer I discovered by the means of me researching amazing documentary photographers who are doing the day-to-day work and showing the true perils and successes and highs and lows of Colombia, which is where I'm from. That's my home country. Federico Rios Escobar. Federico is a Colombian documentary photographer focusing on social issues in Latin America. I believe it's very important to have a strong connection to your roots, and I do believe I have a strong connection to Colombia. However, I always want to make them stronger, and there's so many things that I don't know about my country because I don't live there, but I still want to stay up to date. And Federico's work, I think, really does speak to what is going on in Colombia at the current moment, or just in Latin America. He has gone through the trenches. He's been very up close to dangerous and complex situations that Colombia has been involved in for the last 20 years, but he's always making sure that he's sharing some positive and very important things that people don't really get to see about Colombia, because we've had such a negative connotation and perception, for right reasons, obviously, for the wrong reasons, actually. I think looking at Federico's work, you will definitely see a photographer who's getting really deep into his work. He's getting in the trenches, like I said. He's in the waters, he's in the jungles, he's with Lafad, he's with the politicians who are making these decisions that are changing and affecting people's lives. And that's why I love following his work, because I stay up to date and it's a little closer to my home country. And he's an amazing photographer, amazing documentary photographer at that. I hope you discover some new documentary photographers to follow on Instagram. Like I said, my intention was to just share for discovery and inspiration purposes. These are some photographers that are really inspiring me on Instagram. I love opening the app and just seeing the stuff that they're up to, the incredible work that they're producing, and just the bar is so high. I really aspire to be producing work at the level that they are, and just to have a consistent look, because they all have their own styles, their own unique perspectives that they're sharing with the world, and that's what I aspire to do as well as an upcoming photographer. In the comment section below, please share some photographers that inspire you to be a better photographer. I would love to check out their work as well. I'll link all these photographers' Instagram in the description of this video, and I'll see you everyone in the next video. Peace.